room. Last year, this gentleman had to go through 11 games before he had a break in the schedule. This year it comes a little bit earlier. So who knows? He may know what to do with himself. He may not know what to do with himself. But anyhow, regardless, the Reggie Cajuns football team. The Reggie Cajuns football team has an open week this week before returning to Sun Belt Conference play against FIU next Saturday at Cajun Field. So here to talk about how the Cajuns will conduct themselves this week and then get ready for FIU, the head coach of Reggie Cajuns football, Mark Hudspeth.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. We've sort of changed the schedule because of the ESPN deal tomorrow. We're practicing today, so I'm fixing to head to meetings and then straight to practice. Real quick about the game, I tell you, in the last 2 weeks, I look at what we've done, defensively, and teams have really put a lot of yards up against us defensively. Troy, not necessarily points, but a lot of yards, and then obviously this week Oklahoma State really had a big day against us, and we gave up a lot of points and yards. But I don't think there's a team in the country that's played two offenses in the first 3 games like we've played. Not a team. And so we played two dynamic offenses that puts up yards against a lot of people, and that presents a challenge. We had 2 different game plans. One of them were a little more successful, obviously, than the second one this past week. As coaches, we probably put our guys in a tough position, too many different looks, too many coverages against a high-tempo, fast-paced offense, and so that led to a lot of guys not being in position. And then when you're not in position, you don't have a chance to do your job. So a lot of that, to me, falls on us as coaches. Got to go back and look at what we can do, what we do best, minimize what we're doing. But nevertheless, our kids played 2 really good offenses. Offensively, we've started slow for 2 games in a row. We're trying to get to the bottom of that. It just comes down to kind of continue to improve, to execute. Look at what we're doing, like what we're doing. I think we got some good things dialed up. We just got to execute a little bit better and keep improving. I think our quarterback play is slowly getting a little better, a little slow the other night, but I think it's going to get there. Both guys have not had very much quality time. They both shared the Lamar game. Then Blaine did not play much in the Troy game, and then they shared this game. So neither quarterbacks had a chance to get into a rhythm. They're in and out, and I don't like playing 2 quarterbacks. Blaine right now is our starting quarterback. He's going to be our starting quarterback in 2 weeks, and he will get the majority of reps in practice. We'll keep preparing Terrence because he has demonstrated that he can come in the game and move the team when needed also. But we've got to continue to find ways to get the ball to our playmakers. I thought Javon, when he got the hands on the ball, him and Harry Peoples made some really good plays, as well as Daryl Surgeon. Run game, we didn't rush for a lot of yards against Oklahoma State because we didn't really have the opportunity to rush. When you get behind like we did, then you start playing to catch up, and you're throwing the ball every down. And so it's hard to be patient and just run the ball. Looking back at it, I could have probably milked the clock from the very start of the game and try to keep the game a little bit closer, but when we play games, we're playing to win games and not to lose them. And we just came up against a very good team that was wounded from their last week's defeat against Arizona, and you can tell they came into that game with a purpose and a mission to improve and probably try to get back into the top 25 and make a statement. And you can see they got a very good football team. I thought the backup quarterback, the second quarterback that came in, was better than the first quarterback. Really presented more problems for us than the first one because he seemed to be more mobile, was able to run the ball on the draw and scramble and make plays. So I thought he did a lot of really good things. If there's one bright side, if there is a bright side, I thought even to date our kicking game is just worlds. Even though I thought it was great last year, I think it's far even further ahead this year. Even though Oklahoma State pinned us back every time they kicked off, we started at the 25. But when we kicked off them, they started at the 23. Our kickoff coverage was better than the touchback coverage. And so our kickoff coverage right now is #1 in the conference. Our punt coverage is #1 in the conference. Our field goals are #1 in the conference. And kickoff return, I think, is #3. But with the limited, we've only had a chance to return, I think, 2 or 3 kicks all year. So kicking game has been pretty solid. I know, Brett has been almost automatic. Had one tough kick the other night. Probably pulled it a little bit. but he don't miss very often, so it's hard to get on to a guy that that normally is pretty much automatic. Thought he kicked off well. Thought he had one big punt that was unfortunately called back because of a penalty. But nevertheless, overall, just disappointed for our team, for our fans, for our program. That I was looking forward to us competing probably a little more than we did. Obviously, we really in our kids' mind thought we was going to go down there and compete, and that's all I ever asked our guys to do is play hard, compete, and find a way. And we just didn't get that done as players and coaches. So now we get to have 2 weeks to now sort of try to revamp things and get things going in a right direction. Last year, after we lost the Oklahoma State game, we went 11-3. Our program had went 11-3 since last year's Oklahoma State game, and so hopefully this will be a good learning lesson for us to get back to work, sharpen up our blade, and get ready for a very tough FIU team coming into Cajun Field in 2 weeks. That you know is going to be looking to try to pay us back for last year's win that we had down there. So, but we're excited to get back to the practice field. I know I am. Our kids are very anxious. Whenever you don't have a showing like you really felt like you wanted to, you get anxious to get back to the practice field and get back to work. And our guys are pretty anxious. They came back with a great attitude. We had a great practice last night. The kids are flying around. I really love the look in their eye, their determination, and I think we're going to have well, I know we're going to have two great weeks of practice. So with that, I'll open up any questions.
Coach, you mentioned possibly revamping things. Is there anything depth-wise that you maybe want to look at, of maybe moving some guys up, moving some guys down, or is it more of just overall team consistency? Yeah,
probably just more team consistency. We pretty much know our guys. We've got a couple guys. We're going to look at Delvin at the end a little bit to help with the pass rush. So we are going to make that move. But secondary, we're still using some different safeties, and trying to see who's going to be the most productive back there in the safety position. But we just got to, I thought we're doing way too much on defense for the amount of newcomers that we have. And so I think we're going to try to minimize there and get these guys in the right spots, get them playing hard. And if we do that, we'll be a much better team.
Coach, the FIU game last year was the game that really kind of got you guys going. You've got a little extra time to prepare for them. They've had a little struggle. They've played a tough conference schedule. But it seems like they're struggling on defense this year as well, which was really supposed to be their strong point.
That's right. That's a little surprising. I think they've got 5 or 6 first-team preseason Sun Belt guys on their defense, and if you watch them on film, they really look talented. They fly around to the ball. I guess it has been a little bit surprising, but they're probably like us. It's early in the year. They're trying to work out kinks, and they're just trying to get their guys to play as a team as we are. And every week it's a process. Just continuing to try to improve and get your guys in the right position.
Coach, your guys have run, or your defense has been out there now for 198 plays over 2 games. Even though you have depth, is there a concern that those guys are starting to wear down a little bit?
I don't think so. I think if you look at the amount of snaps our defensive guys have been on the field, and to be able to hold up the way they have, at least physically, it says a lot about, I think, the conditioning that they're in. Once again, I think there's no question that our team is in great condition. I think that's going to pay huge dividends as this season goes along. The other night you look, and I think Oklahoma State had 3 or 4 injuries, and we keep plugging along. Even though we're not playing well, we're staying healthy. Our kids are playing a lot more snaps than our opponent because of the situation the other night, where you're trying to get back into the game, you're trying to scratch and claw, and where they're not playing their starters there much in the second half. So I think we're in good shape. I don't think we're wearing down yet. Plus, this off week comes at a good time because it's really the midpoint of the season. 5 weeks of camp, 3 games. You're really about the midweek of the entire year when we start in August the 1st.
Coach, it didn't have anything to do with the final score, but I thought you showed a little offensive rhythm later in the game. Is that something going into the off week that you can build on, or what is that?
That rhythm, it's a lot easier to get in a little rhythm when you're going against the second team and the third team. That makes the rhythm a lot easier, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. I will say this, though, Blaine, I thought he threw some nice balls the other night at times, and at times a little bit inconsistent. I still see him improving. And, you know, he was sore. He was very sore with his, you know, ribs, but I think in 2 weeks he should finally be back to 100%. And, you know, the thing we've got to do is just, we want to come out and start a lot faster. Last year we started faster at times, and that's critical. This past game, we gave them the short field, and then we were, you know, starting at 35 every time. They were starting at about 35 or 40. And so we've got to get started a little faster. One thing we are doing, though, we're still taking care of the ball. Even though we had that one hiccup with Alonzo right before halftime, that was pretty disappointing, but still only one turnover. If we keep taking care of the ball in the long run, it's going to pay off.
Last year, you know, you have a lot of players back on, a lot of starters back on offense, but this is the second year. Is what's going on in any way, like defense is adjusting to what y'all do, and then you got to kind of answer, or how can you kind of explain that maybe the offense not picking up where it left off?
Well, I think sometimes, you know, you got to give some defenses some credit. We played some pretty good defenses. Oklahoma State's got pretty good scholarship players too, and that has a little bit to do with it. Secondly, you know, anytime you're early in the year, sometimes you just takes a little bit to gel. Some teams gel sooner, some offenses gel sooner, and we just probably have not gotten enough. You know, we didn't get enough reps early against Lamar. Probably would have been a little better to have a game where we really grind it out and play 4 quarters and guys get to finish a game. That may have helped, but nevertheless, we've just got to improve, and there's no excuses other than we got to improve at practice. And this practices have been very sharp, and sooner or later it'll catch on, and they'll light up because they're practicing too hard, and they're practicing, I think, with a purpose. And so sooner or later it's going to come around.
Coach, all week you practiced for a pocket passer. How much did it throw a wrench in your defensive game plan when all of a sudden at about the 3rd or 4th snap you're now playing a guy who can get out of the pocket and just get all over the field? You
know, I think anytime the starting quarterback goes down, you're like, you know, well, wow, you know, how good's the second guy going to be? And it turns out that he, you know, we felt like he was better than the first guy. Presented a few more problems in the run game as he was able to scramble and run and make some big plays with his legs. And that's why I really think he's more effective, more of a dual threat guy. So, you know, did it throw a wrench into your plans? Probably not a whole bunch, other than we just didn't execute as well as we should have. And when you play a team that's really good and they execute very high, at a very high level, and then we don't play very well, then that's a big drop. So, you know, I would have loved to seen us at our best, but it didn't happen. So we're going to get back to the drawing board and keep working to get there.
Coach, you mentioned Delvin Erb previously about maybe looking at him a little bit at defensive end, and obviously this is going to be a week where you guys are looking at what, you know, maybe making some changes defensively, maybe not necessarily scheme-wise, but let me ask you this. Defensive line-wise, is that something that you guys can look at or going to look at? Because I know you got your rotation set based upon what's been going on the last few weeks, but maybe getting into more situational, situational play where you're 2nd or 3rd and long, and maybe mixing it up a little bit on that defensive line, putting in guys like Fields and Higgins or Hamilton together and trying to change up that little more situational than rotation?
Well, sometimes you try to do that, and you try to, you know, on 3rd downs, you're always sometimes trying to get your best pass rushers in the game if you can. The thing is, when teams play in no huddle tempo like we've seen the last 2 weeks, sometimes you don't have that luxury of substituting. So you can't run anybody in, you know, you're caught with 12 men on the field. And when we get to a point where we can do that, that's definitely something you definitely, you know, always want to try to do.
Coach, what does a bye week entail for you this week? A lot of work still, or how do you handle this week?
This week for us, it's a big work week for the staff. The players will get a little more time off as we practice Sunday night, we practice tonight. They'll be off Tuesday, and then they'll be off on Saturday, and then this Thursday and Friday we'll have coaches out recruiting. On Thursday after practice, and then all day Friday and Saturday, the staff's going to hit the road. We'll be in 4 states recruiting and using this time to really hammer out recruiting, and then we'll come back Sunday to start normal game week preparation. So we'll end up getting, you know, 4 extra practices this week, and they'll get a little extra downtime.
When you do have the bye week and your opponent's playing, though, is it more of an advantage for them because they stay in rhythm, or is it for you because you get the free look?
Well, you know, it's a little bit of both, I think. You know, last year, we never had that open date, and we were sort of got on a roll, and we had some momentum, and we just had to keep our head down and swim, never had a chance to really come up for air. And I think in some ways, it helped us just to stay focused, because there was no breach in preparation. Sometimes when you have an open date, it helps you in the cases of getting back healthy, letting some guys recover that may be a little banged up, let them recover a little bit emotionally, mentally, because it's been a long camp, and then you played 3 games. But on the other hand, too, you know, you like to stay sharp. So, but it also gives you 2 weeks to prepare sometimes for your opponent. But also sometimes you can overanalyze. So you know, I don't know if anybody's got the exact science down. We're going to do what we feel like is best, and hopefully we're going to use it to be a positive at this point in the season.
Coach, getting FIU, obviously they've got some talent, and they've got some guys like Rhodes back there, who's may be arguably the best running back in the conference this year now that Rainey's gone. Some kids you're familiar with, Coleman, Faciani on the defensive line. Is there anything that you're seeing in the film, and Madlock, a kid who gave us a little bit of trouble that came in the game last year, is there anything that you see that they're doing a little differently this year, maybe offensively, because they've done okay on offense, but just compared to what they did last year?
You know, I've only watched their offense very little to this point right here. These past couple of days, we've been more concerned about really fixing ourselves, going back and self-study in our first 3 weeks. So we did a complete first 3 weeks self-study, and then today is our first day where we really introduce FIU. We'll do the FIU scouting report today at 2 o'clock before we head to practice. The little bit of film of watching them offensively, I did see very, very similar. Like you said, their back is dynamic. He can really take it to the house. I think they've got good wide receivers. Their offensive line is very good. I think they're a very, very talented team, and one of the more talented teams in the conference.
Well, his presence wouldn't have changed the outcome of the game. How much did you guys miss Justin Hamilton?
No, probably, you know, lately he's become one of the leaders of that defensive line. You always miss one, you know, if he's one of your best D linemen, you always are going to miss a kid like that. Would it have helped us win the game? It would have helped us been more competitive. I'm not saying the score would have been any different, but it would have helped you been more competitive. It would have gave you a little more rotation. But you know, it'll be nice to have him back now, because you got more depth. You got fresher guys rolling in the game. You always want one of your best linemen out there, that's for sure.
And you mentioned one of the few bright spots, Javon Lawson's play. What kind of leadership does he bring on the field and in the locker room?
You know, I think his leadership role is starting to increase a little bit. You can tell the guys it was really important to, which is important to all of them, but you can really, some guys, they're like myself. They wear the emotions on their sleeve, and they're easily excited. And you can tell those guys in the locker room were disappointed. They were upset. They wanted to show they were better. And but they're going to get 9 more opportunities to do that this year. So I told them, hey, we may have lost the battle, but we have not lost the war. So they're going to be ready to get back to work this week.
Mark, do you is that rib injury you think affected maybe why Blaine's not as sharp as you'd like, or is it just why do you think he's not as sharp as he was last year?
You know, I'm sure the rib injury had a lot to do with it this week, because when, you know, a quarterback, whenever you're rotating, and that's the main part of your throwing motion is your trunk rotation, and when you're sore down through here, that probably affects you a little bit. But I thought he fought through it well, and never complained once. He's just, like I said, he needs more reps, needs more playing time. Playing time makes everybody better, and you know, he's missed a bunch of playing time for various reasons in all 3 games. And so he just needs more time on the field. He's already proven it. We all know it's there, and I'm 100% confident it's going to come out.
Coach Brett said he thought the halftime speech was good for the team, and you mentioned you thought the reaction was good, what you saw in their eyes yesterday. Just talk about the emotional rebound from that game and how they responded.
I thought they responded well, and you know, after I came in the locker room, voiced a little bit of my displeasure. I had a chance to go sit down and just sort of regroup and look at, the game plan for the second half and talk to the coaches. Then I went back and after that, before he took the field, just basically challenged the guys, hey, we can't go back and play this half again as much as we would like it. This half is gone. Let's go out now, let's just win this second half. Let's go out and let's play hard, play to the end, let's win the second half. And we came out and we won the second half. Was that a moral victory? No, there are no moral victories other than the fact that I thought our guys accepted that challenge. They were very disappointed. They wanted to come out and play better. And now, I've challenged them now to first of all, offensively, we got to start faster. We got to get some first downs. We got to be better on third down. Defensively, we've got to also do better on third down. And so, and then we got to try to create some turnovers too. So, if we can improve on a couple of those things, we'll be a better football team right away.
Any other questions, Coach?
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate y'all coming. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.